Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swaminiti Namine Shrigdaja Chaitah Srupaneta Vagninam Cha Rasplutam Prabhupada Prana Naimi Bhakti Charupadam. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastarya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschastari Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatrubhascha kripa sindhu bhaevacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Prabhus, I seek the blessings and mercy of all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, so that I can share with you all appropriately the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Nityanandam Aham Naumi Sarvananda Karam Param Harinama Pradam Devam Avaduta Shiro Manim. I bow down to the Supreme Lord Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the awarder of the highest joy of all, the presiding deity of the holy name, and the crest jewel of all Paramahams mendicants. Prabhus, of course, it's such an auspicious day today. And out of the entire year, out of all the 365 days in the year, this Nityananda Triyodasi is indeed the most auspicious and the most significant for us. If I had it my way, I would call our institution the International Society for Nityananda Consciousness. This is how important Lord Nityananda is to us. In Jagannath Puri at the time of Lord Chaitanya, when he was performing his pastimes there, the head pujari of Jagannath Puri was none other than Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And the Bhattacharya had given 12 prominent names of Lord Nityananda. And firstly, he states Nityanando. This is the first name. Nityanando meaning naturally, eternally blissful. And the second name is Avadutendro. Avadutendor. And which means transcendental moon of divine madness. The transcendental mood of divine madness, and this is certainly Lord Nityananda. The third name he gives is Vasudha Pranavallabha. Vasudha Pranavallabha, which naturally means the life of Vasudama, which is none other than the Lord Nityananda. The fourth name he gives is Janavi Jivata Patihi. Janavi Jivata Patihi, which means the consort of Janava, who is none other than Revati Devi. And the fifth name he gives is Krishna Prema Pradaha. Krishna Prema Pradaha, which means he who bestows Krishna Prem. He who bestows Krishna Prem. And this is Lord Nityananda. And the sixth name is Prabhu. And Prabhu specifically, significantly, particularly means the supreme spiritual master, the Adi Guru. And that is the Lord Nityananda. And the seventh name he gives to Lord Nityananda is Padmavati Sutaha. Padmavati Sutaha means the son of Padmavati. And the eighth name, very famous, popular name, it's Shriman. Shriman. Shriman means he is of splendorous transcendental majesty. This really befits Lord Nityananda's character. He is one who is splendorous of transcendental majesty. That's Lord Nityananda. And the ninth name is Satchinandan. Satchinandan Purvajaha. Satchinandan Purvajaha, the elder brother of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The 10th name is Bhavanmato. Bhavanmato, he whose bodily form is always in ecstasy. His bodily form, the Lord's bodily form, is always in ecstasy. And the 11th name given is Jagat Tatra. Jagat Tatra means, Jagat means the entire universe, the savior of the entire universe. And I would even go far as saying the savior of the entire material realm, if not beyond. And the 12th and final name, which is given by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to Lord Nityananda, is Rakta Gaura Kevalara. Rakta Gaura Kevalara. He whose divine bodily complexion and radiance is golden tinged with red. His divine radiance is golden tinged with red. So these are the 12 significant names of Lord Nityananda given so very most appropriately by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who is an exceptionally intimate disciple and associate of Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu. At the time when Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, the Bhattacharya Sarvabhauma was the head pujari of the temple. So I have various pastimes of the Lord which I wanted to share with all the Vaishnavas here, and in between I thought it would be most appropriate if we were to just read out the translation of the Nityananda Ashtaka. The Nityananda Charitamrita had been compiled by none other than Vrindavan Das Thakur, and in a few years back we've had the entire translation given to us by His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So in between I'll just read out the Ashtakam, and the first verse is Sri Nityananda Prabhu's face is more beautiful and cooling than the autumnal moon. The effulgence coming out from his body is extremely, supremely beautiful. He always moves like a mad elephant, since he is always intoxicated with Krishna Prema. He is always mad after Krishna Prema. His body is completely pure spiritual energy. He always has a smiling face. His eyes are very fickle, moving to and fro. His lotus hand always holds a glowing staff. Yes, That is Sri Nityananda, who by the beating of that staff destroys all other reactions of Kali Yuga. We should take shelter of Sri Nityananda and cry for the mercy of Sri Nityananda. He is the root of Krishna Prema, Bhakti, Kalpataru, the root of the tree of loving devotion unto Krishna. I do my bhajan of Lord Nityananda, the very root of the Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. This was the first verse given to us by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Now, there are many pastimes of the Lord, and specifically the interesting pastimes are when the Lord is in Nadia. And when Lord Nityananda is in Nadia, he is the Don. He is the boss. For when he walks down the streets, when he appears in people's homes, in devotees' homes, he is the proprietor. He behaves as he is the majestic proprietor. He is the emperor. He is the supreme. Because when he walks down the street with broad shoulders, elongated arms, and he's marching down all the streets. And one of the most important places for him is Srivashangan. And when in the autumnal season, when the Ganga overflows, and there are 12-foot crocodiles within the Ganges, the Lord has unique pastimes. For in that season, during that weather which is so, the entire Ganges is overflooded, the Lord would dive into the water, into the Ganga, and devotees would attempt to stop him. But he would dive in and encounter a pastime with the crocodiles. Now, Prabhus, these crocodiles are 12 foot long. They are, immensely dangerous. No one would dare jump into the Ganga when these crocodiles are around. But the Lord would just dive straight in and he would wrestle with the crocs. And during that time, the servants of the Lord, the entourage of the Lord, the devotees present would literally faint because they'd think that the Lord is about to be eaten by these crocs. And as the Lord would wrestle, he would then come up to the water, and you could then see that he's having a wonderful time with these crocs. And then he would come out. He would come out onto the bank, and he would then march towards Srivashangan, the house of Srivas Thakur. And there, on one particular occasion, one particular morning, after the Lord Nityananda has wrestled with the crocs, Mahaprabhu is waiting for him, and he marches up to where Gauranga Mahaprabhu is, and Mahaprabhu is there with the whole entourage of devotees. And as he then sits next to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, now he's drenched, he's wet. Lord Nityananda is completely wet. And Mahaprabhu mentions to Lord Nityananda, so have you had a good time with the crocs? And the Lord would respond, yes, I had a great wrestling match. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu would say, give me your kopin. And so the Lord very carefully would remove, Nityananda would remove his kopin, give that to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Lord Gauranga would strip the kopin, just like this morning when we had the Abhishek in the temple room. Of course, I'm here situated in the Haveli, the beautiful Haveli, not in the temple room. But in the temple room we had the Abhishek, and after the Abhishek, the pujaris would make strips of the Lord's kopin, and that would be then distributed. So similarly, Gauranga Mahaprabhu was stripping in thin strips, and he would then distribute the Maha. And Lord Nityananda would just sit back, and he would then laugh and laugh. Such are the activities of the Supreme Lord Sri Nityananda Ram. The second verse of the Ashtakam The translation is Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the reservoir of all transcendental mellows. He is the life and soul of all the devotees. Nobody can compare to him in all the 3 planetary systems. He is very dear to me. He is very dear to one and all. He is the beloved husband of Sri Basudha and Sri Janava. He is always in an ecstatic mood of love, always maddened and intoxicated with that mellow of love, Krishna Prema. He is unknown to crooked and evil-minded persons. I do my bhajan of Lord Nityananda, the very root of the Sri Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. That was the second verse. As Gauranga Mahaprabhu has distributed the Maha of the Lord would then, Lord Nityananda would then get up and he would then say, I'm hungry, I've got to go. And he would march towards Sribasangan. Sribasangan is the house of Sribas Thakur, and there at Sribasangan a very, very unique personality waits for Lord Nityananda virtually on a daily basis. For Lord Nityananda is very, very desirous of having his meals at the house of Sribas Thakur. Malini Devi is a mother to the Lord, and she cooks for the Lord. And on this particular day, the Lord appears there on the veranda, and as he's appearing, Malini is outside waiting for him. Malini, Mother Malini, we have a devotee by the name of Malini Nitai. She's within our yatra, but this is the relationship between Malini Devi and Lord Nityananda. And as she's waiting, the Lord appears. But on this particular day, Malini, Mother Malini, is very dejected. She's despondent and she's somewhat depressed. She's virtually in tears. For just before the Lord has appeared, an unusual event occurred. She was in the on her altar, and a crow, a black big crow, just flies straight into the house and goes towards the altar. And on the altar of the home altar, there's a very nice little pot, silver pot, and within which the ghee is kept for the puja, for the worship. And this crow just picks up the pot on his beak, and he just flies off, and he takes the pot away. And Mother Malini, she's so dejected, she's so affected, because this pot is used on a daily basis by Sribas Thakur when he performs his worship to the Supreme Lord. And she felt that Sribas Thakur, when he comes home, he'll chastise her. Why? Because the pot is missing. So when Lord Nityananda appears, and he notices that Mother Malini is very dejected, she's in tears. And so he asks, what is the problem? Why are you, why are you crying? What's the problem? And so Mother Malini mentions that, well, this crow turned up just before you came, and he took the pot. It's a silver pot, and Thakur, Sribas, he'll be very upset when he finds out. So Lord Nityananda chuckled, and he said, oh, I'll get the pot back, don't worry. So the Lord goes out, and he summons the crow. By this time the crow was possibly miles and miles away, and the Lord summons the crow that come back, and the crow flies back. But when the crow comes back, he doesn't have the pot with him. So Lord Nityananda said, well, why have you come empty-handed? Go and get the pot. I want the pot back. Bring the pot back and place it at the altar. Why did you take it? So the crow, obviously, he understands this is quite a unique personality. He's virtually paying obeisance. He flies off hurriedly. He flies off again, and wherever he's put the pot of that ghee, he then brings it back and he places it on the altar and then flies off again. And when Mother Malini, she notices what a miraculous event has just occurred, she is elated, and momentarily the Jogamaya is somewhat lifted, and she understands and realizes the true position of Lord Nityananda. And she then chants a series of prayers, and at the end of each prayer, after glorifying the Lord, she then says, for you to bring back the pot of ghee is not a miracle, for you are Mahasankarshan, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a beautiful, beautiful pastime of Mother Malini and Lord Nityananda. Whenever the Lord is in Nadia during that time, he would always go to the house of Malini Devi. And after this incident, he immediately said, Mother, I am hungry. What have you cooked for me? What have you made for me? Where is my feast? And the Lord would then sit, and he would have chappan bhog, he would have so many items, various dishes, all made of different types of rice, different biryanis and sweet rice, and all sorts of items are then offered to the Lord by Mother Malini Nitai. So a truly a beautiful, beautiful pastime there. The third verse of the Ashtakam goes like this. Lord Nityananda is very dear to Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He always does good to the whole universe. He is always supremely blissful. He is the embodiment of supreme happiness and blissfulness. He comes to this material world in this Kali Yuga to deliver the sinful persons. There is no limit to his mercy. He constantly does Nam Sankirtan, destroying the pride of this dreadful ocean of material existence. I do my bhajan of Lord Sri Nityananda, the very root of the Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. Beautiful verse. Of course, Prabhus, we are truly, truly in knowledge that the most magnanimous, the most merciful personality is Lord Nityananda. And we cannot approach Lord Chaitanya without the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And there are many examples where seemingly, for instance, Raghunath Das Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, when he, just before the Chip Rice Festival, he was stopped by the Lord, and Lord Nityananda accuses the Goswami that how can you go directly to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, without receiving my mercy? So we know very well that without the mercy and without the blessings of Lord Nityananda, one cannot approach Lord Chaitanya, what to speak of going beyond that. So everyone receives the mercy of the Lord, Lord Nityananda. But, Prabhus, there is one person who was not fortunate enough to receive the mercy of the Lord. And this seemingly unfortunate personality was by the name of Ramchandra Khan. Ramchandra Khan was indeed an affluent zamindar, a landowner, very, very wealthy, a leader. a dharmic, a religious individual, very, very prominent in the district of Benapole in Bengal. And it was then that the Thakur Haridas, the Namacharya, appears there, and we have the very famous pastime of Haridas Thakur in his little hermitage, chanting his rounds, and the high society lady appears there, known as Maya Devi, and this personality was sent by Ramchandra Khan, because Ramchandra Khan, he was prior to the Thakur Haridas appearing there. Ramchandra Khan was actually like the guru figure in that province. He was very, very famous, and when Thakur Haridas appeared there, he felt very threatened, because the purity of Thakur Haridas meant that many devotees, many people were flocking to him, and he had a huge entourage developing. So the Khan incidentally is a long ancient Bengali title, very suitable to zamindars, to wealthy industrialists, to wealthy landowners, and of course then adopted by the Mughal Empire. So Ramchandra Khan became somewhat envious of the Thakur, and of course he then sends this lady. He approached many high society ladies, that would you do this deed? And they all refused. But this particular lady agreed, and in one sense she didn't have much of a choice. And it was due to her good fortune. Of course, we know what happens. But after that incident, the great Thakur Haridas decides to leave the province, decides to leave the hermitage. He initiates the Maya Devi and mentions to her, that you remain here, I have to move on. And she said, why? But I need you as my spiritual master. Why you have to leave? And the Thakur, he said, well, if I don't leave, then Ramchandra Khan would do some other disturbance, and so you will be in danger. So better that I leave. And so he leaves. And when Gauranga Mahaprabhu heard that the Thakur was insulted in this manner, Mahaprabhu, even though the Namacharya, Haridas Thakur, being so exceptionally humble, he did not take offense. He would never take offense. Many individuals would offend him. He was even beaten in the marketplace, but he would never take offense. But Gauranga Mahaprabhu did. And Mahaprabhu then instructs our Lord Nityananda that you go to the house of Ramchandra Khan. Incidentally, this particular pastime is very nicely given in the book Namacharya, compiled very beautifully by Rup Vilas Prabhu. So it's a very nice, sweet pastime. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu instructs Lord Nityananda, you go and see this Ramchandra Khan. What is his issue? What is the problem? What he did was wrong. So Lord Nityananda, seemingly initially reluctant, because he doesn't always like to take instructions from his younger brother. Lord Chaitanya is good 14 years junior to the Lord. However, Lord Nityananda is subservient, probably to the only personality. No one else can control the Lord. No one else can control Lord Nityananda. Only Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So he then, Lord Nityananda goes to the house, to the palace of Ramchandra Khan. And when he enters the courtyard, many of his entourage are kept outside. He enters alone. And Ramchandra Khan is told by his servants that Lord Nityananda has appeared. But for some reason, Ramchandra Khan lost his intelligence. He instructs his servant that you go and see what Lord Nityananda wants. Tell him I'm not available. I'm not here. And the servant actually says, but my lord, this is the Supreme Lord Nityananda. He has appeared here and he wants to see you. And Ramchandra Khan said, no, look, just tell him I'm busy. I'm in a meeting. Tell him I'm not here. You go and deal with him. And incidentally, tell him that if he wants to remain, he shouldn't be in the courtyard. Of course, don't invite him in the house. Another mistake. Such a Supreme Lord himself has appeared there, and he's not thinking of inviting the Lord in the house. And Ramchandra Khan mentions to the servant, you tell Lord Nityananda to go in our Goshala. And the Goshala is big enough, and because soon the entire entourage will appear there, and the Lord would want to perform a katha and give a class, so better he sits in our Goshala. Of course, this is unheard of. A prime guest, how can he be told to go to the Goshala and sit at the Goshala? It's sacrilegious. The servant reluctantly goes out to the courtyard. Now, a typical courtyard, this was a huge courtyard. There would be a welcoming welcoming building at the front, and then a beautiful courtyard in between, and then the main house of the estate would be to the rear, the inner quarters. And so when you would appear into the courtyard, on the right hand side there would be the Durga Mandap, where it is customary to worship Mother Durga on a regular basis. This is Bengali culture. And so Lord Nityananda just comes straight into the courtyard, and he just sits at the Durga Mandal, the Pandal area of Durga Devi. He sits there, and he's pretty much alone, one or two servants with him, and the servant, Ramchandra Khan's servant, comes out. He offers prayers, and of course Lord Nityananda, he mentions immediately, where is Ramchandra Khan? I have come to see your master. Where is he? And the servant, very reluctantly, in a very humble manner, says, my lord, my master is not available right now. He can't see you. What? He can't see me? Nityananda reacts. The Lord reacts. And the servant said, yes, he's a little preoccupied. He's not available right now. But he has told me that if you could please, the courtyard is not sufficient space for you, because soon your entire entourage will appear. So maybe you can sit where the Goshala is. We have a beautiful, nice Goshala. You can sit there. Lord Nityananda was flabbergasted. How can I sit in the Goshala? How can I sit there? The Lord just gets up. He gets up from that area of where Mother Durga is worshipped. He gets up and he just walks towards the exit, towards the gates. He then turns around and he says to the servant, he mentions, tell your master, within 7 days, the minister of the Nawab Hussain Shah, his boss, Ramchandra Khan's boss, will appear here, and he will convert Ramchandra Khan into Mohammedan. And I will not be going to the Goshala, but know for a fact that from that Goshala the Mohammedans will take the calves, and that calf, the meat will be forcibly administered to Ramchandra Khan. Mark my words. You can tell that to your master. And the Lord just leaves. Now this is one incident where the mercy of Lord Nityananda is not experienced by this particular individual, Ramchandra Khan. Why? Because he performs such an acute Vaishnava parad onto the Namacharya. And yes, Prabhus, within 7 days, the Mohammedan rulers appear there. The Nawab Hussain Shah has accuses the Khan, Ramchandra Khan, of fraud, of misdirecting funds. And Ramchandra Khan has 2 wives, 3 sons, grandchildren. The ladies, there are many ladies of the house, they're all insulted, assaulted by the Mohammedan soldiers. The sons and the men are imprisoned. And finally, Ramchandra Khan is converted into the Mohammedan religion, and he is forcibly administered beef from his very own Goshala. Such a heavy reaction for his aparad. And still Ramchandra Khan did not receive the mercy of the Lord, and he still could not understand what was going on. Eventually Ramchandra Khan, because he just couldn't he could not understand what was going on, and unfortunately for him, he had leprosy. He had leprosy, and he had to leave his body. He had to leave his body, which was very unfortunate, very unfortunate indeed. And that was one incident where the mercy of the Lord was not at all given. Stop. So on this particular occasion, Ramchandra Khan unfortunately fails to receive the mercy of the Lord. Our 4th prayer, the Ashtakam. Lord Nityananda tells Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu, "Oh brother, what will happen to those most distressed and fallen jivas of Kali Yuga? What will happen to them unless you shower your mercy upon them? Please show them a way for their deliverance by which they can approach and get your lotus feet." He always talks to Sriman Mahaprabhu like this: I do my bhajan of Lord Nityananda, the very root of the Sri Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. So, Prabhus, we're all aware that Lord Chaitanya has given a very specific order and instruction of Nam Sankirtan. And just prior to the pastime of Jagai and Madai, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, in a very enthusiastic manner, mentions this. Suno suno Nityananda, suno Haridas, sarvatra amara karo prakash, prati ghare ghare giya koro e biksha, bolo Krishna bhajo Krishna, Krishna koro shiksha, iha nahi oro na, balabe no bolia, dina avashane asi amara ka hiba. Listen, Nityananda, listen, Haridas. Go and preach my order everywhere. Beg everyone, chant Krishna, worship Krishna, and learn the science of Krishna. Do not preach anything other than this. At the end of the day, come and report to me. In spite of your begging, if anyone refuses to accept your order, then I'll come with a chakra to kill them. So when the devotees heard this, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, when he narrated this beautiful verse, sung this verse, and the devotees present chuckled. Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur accepted this order so very, very seriously. Lord Nityananda, on numerous occasions, he would perform this Sankirtan door to door with Lord Advaita. But Lord Advaita, he could not always tolerate Lord Nityananda's mischief behavior. The Namacharya Haridas Thakur seemingly had more tolerance. So when Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, when they see the two drunkards, Jagai and Madai, Lord Nityananda thought, okay, these are the individuals we have to deliver. On their very first meeting, the brothers were so obnoxious, they chased the lords, and both Lord Nityananda and the great Thakur escaped. The following day, they see them again. Now the entire populace of Nadia are petrified when it comes to these two individual brothers. They are of Brahman birth, very high birth, but somehow due to their heinous activities, they were lower than the Sudras. For every day the two brothers were accustomed to eating meat, even beef, and every day they were accustomed to drinking wine. They were continuously intoxicated. Everything they did, every impious, every sinful activity under the sun, they had done. And people, if they were at all in their presence, and even if they would come and cross their shadow, an individual who would be in that situation would immediately go to the Ganga and bathe themselves to purify themselves. This is how obnoxious their activities were. And Lord Nityananda, when he heard the heinous activities and behavior of these two, he thought to himself, well, if people to purifying themselves are jumping into the Ganga just because they're in the shadow of these two brothers, then I will deliver these two, and in future, when an individual takes darshan of these two brothers, it will be more purifying for that individual than taking bath in the Ganga. So in future, when Jagai and Madai became exceptionally pure devotees, and people, devotees take their darshan, Lord Nityananda mentioned that is more purifying than taking bath in the Ganga. So he was very determined, the Lord was very determined to rescue these two individuals. And of course, when they approach the two brothers, we all know what happens. The missile hits the Lord's forehead. Of course, just prior to that, the two brothers literally chase the two lords, and again they're running. And Haridas Thakur, whilst is running and whilst is looking at the back, he mentions to Lord Nityananda, see, you've got us both into trouble again. These two brothers will kill us. And they kept on running. Eventually they stopped, and then there was the confrontation. And of course, when Gauranga Mahaprabhu heard, he was there within no time, and he was about to annihilate the two brothers and evoke the Sudarshan Chakra. And of course, we know what occurs and how Lord Nityananda saves both Jagai and Madai. So now we come on to the fifth of the prayers of the Ashtakam, the fifth prayer. Lord Nityananda goes to every doorstep and requests everyone with folded hands. Oh, my dear brothers, all of you engage yourself in the chanting of Harinam. If you do this and follow my instruction, I promise that you will very easily cross over this dreadful, dreadful ocean of material existence. I do my bhajan of Lord Sri Nityananda, the very root of the Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. That's the 5th verse. Of course, when things get somewhat serious for Lord Nityananda, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, he realizes that Lord Nityananda needs to become more responsible. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu mentions to Lord Nityananda that it's time that you enter the Grahastha ashram and take on responsibility. And the Lord Nityananda, his servant at the time was Uddayandatta, and Uddayandatta was serving the Lord, and in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, Lord Nityananda gets up in the middle of the night. And Uddayandatta, he also gets up. He asks, my Lord, is everything okay? Lord Nityananda immediately said, well, we have to leave now. We have to leave and we have to go to the house of Suryadas Pandit, the house of Gauridas Pandit. And Uddayandatta said, well, but my Lord, it's the middle of the night. Could we not go in the morning? And Lord Nityananda said, no, I can't wait. I have to get married in the morning. I have to change my ashram. I have to get married. So we have to leave now. So immediately both of them leave. And very early hours of the morning, they appear at the house of Suryadas Pandit. Suryadas Pandit is the elder brother. Suryadas Pandit is a devout devotee of Lord Nityananda. And Gauridas Pandit is a devout devotee of Lord Chaitanya, hence Gauridas. This particular pastime is very nicely given in the Nityananda Charitamrita. And as the Lord appears and he comes to the veranda of the house, Suryadas Pandit notices that Lord Nityananda is appearing, and he comes out onto the veranda. And soon as the Lord appears there, Suryadas Pandit, with all humility, chants many, many prayers in glorification of the Lord. Lord Nityananda, at one point he said, look, enough of the prayers. I have come here for a mission. And my mission is that I would want to take your daughter hand in marriage. I have to marry your daughter. And something truly profound occurs. Suryadas Pandit, when he hears this, that this is a request, a proposal, Suryadas Pandit, he mentions to the Lord, he said, my Lord, you may be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are Mahasankarshan. However, you appeared in Ekachakra, and within the Brahman caste, you are the son of Hadai Pandit, Padmavati Devi. You are the son, but they are of a lower class Brahmana than we. So how can I give my daughter in hand in marriage to you, for we are higher class of Brahmans? Lord Nityananda couldn't believe what he was hearing. He just turned to his servant Uddayandatta and he said, we're going. He turned around and he marches off. And he then enters the suburbs of the village, and he sits there underneath a humongous banyan tree, chewing his betel nut. And as he's sitting there, an entire entourage flock, and the Lord then begins his katha, his narration. And in the meantime, Suryadas Pandit goes back into the house. and he calls for his younger brother Goridas. Goridas appears there, and Suryadas mentions to Goridas, something very unusual has occurred, something very bizarre has happened. But before I tell you what, let me mention to you that last night I had a dream. And in my dream, a very Herculean, very powerful, very well-built personality, full of radiance, full of golden radiance, appears outside our house in a humongous chariot, a golden chariot, humongous. And he gets off the chariot, he's very, very tall, and on his left shoulder he carries the plough. On his left shoulder he carries the plough, and he asks me, is this the house of Suryadas Pandit? Is this the house of Goridas Pandit? And I respond to him, yes, this is our house, and my dream breaks. And a funny thing just happened now. For Lord Nityananda was here. And Goridas said, what? Nityananda was here? Where is he? Where is the Lord? Yes, but he appeared and he asked hand of marriage to Janavama, our eldest daughter. And Goridas said, so what did you say to him? Well, I mentioned to him that, we are of a higher Brahman caste. What? You refuse the proposal? And in the kitchen area, Janavama was listening in to the conversation between her father and her uncle. And when she heard that the proposal had been refused, what she was carrying in the kitchen, she just dropped and she collapsed. And unfortunately, she entered an ecstatic type of symptom. She was entering an epileptic fit. When she drops the pots and pans which she was carrying, a tumultuous sound occurs, and everyone then rushes into the kitchen, and they notice that Janava, the young damsel, had collapsed. And then the ladies of the house, they become very perturbed. They carry her transcendental body outside onto the veranda to give her some air. And as they place her down onto the veranda, and she is entered a very epileptic type of fit. Goridas Pandit immediately then suggests that a Vaid is required, a doctor is required. They go and fetch a doctor. The doctor advises, the Vaid advises that you'd better take this young girl to the bank of the Ganga because she's about to leave her body. She's not going to survive. And when everyone in the household heard that, the women were wailing. They were very, very disturbed. Suryadas Pandit mentions to Goridas, what shall we do? And Goridas said, well, you know why this has occurred. We have to get Lord Nityananda here. We have to go and search for him. So they both then leave. They run and see where the Lord is. The Lord is there sitting underneath the tree amongst his entourage, and from a distance both Suryadas Pandit and Goridas Pandit, they pay their full Dandavat pranams in profound humility, offer prayers. The Lord signals to them, come nearer, and Lord Nityananda, without any word, he takes his right foot out and plonks it onto the head of Suryadas Pandit, and there the devotees present there, they get up and they chant Hari Bol, for such a unique blessing has been given to the two brothers. And Suryadas Pandit then humbly requests that, please, I don't know what happened, my lord. You have to come back to the house and you have to accept the proposal. So both the brothers take the Lord back to the house. Now, just before getting to the house, Janavama realizes that her Lord and Master is appearing. And so before the Lord appears, Janavama completely regains consciousness. and she just sorts her attire out and rushes back inside the house because she does not want to be seen when the Lord appears. It's mentioned that just by the Lord's aroma, that transcendental aroma of the Lord enters the transcendental nostrils of Janavama, and she then regains her consciousness and she then rushes back in. Of course, when the Lord appears there, an entire entourage, a very elaborate ceremony takes place, and Janavama is brought out on a throne much better than this seat which I am seated upon, is carried and circumlated round Lord Nityananda, for this is the custom, and the proposal has been then accepted, and in due course a huge marriage ceremony occurs. And after the marriage ceremony, the Lord remains in the house of Surya Das Pandit and Gauri Das Pandit for a number of days. On one occasion, on one day, it's lunchtime, and the Lord is being served various items, and the servers, one particular item is served to the Lord. On his left hand side, the Lord is seated with his father-in-law Gauri Das Pandit, and on his right hand side he's seated with Surya Das Pandit and Gauri Das Pandit, and as the items are being served, the preparations are being served, there's one server who is about to serve a Shukta type of preparation to Lord Nityananda. And so on her left hand palm she has the bowl, and she has on the right she has the serving spoon, and she's about to serve the Lord, and unfortunately somewhat her sari unveils. Her sari unveils, and so she's in a dilemma. Should she continue on serving the Lord, or should she put the utensils down and adjust her sari and then serve? Of course, if she doesn't serve the Lord, seemingly it's inappropriate etiquette, it can seem offensive, and if she doesn't sort her sari veil out, then it's also inappropriate behavior. It's not the appropriate etiquette, so she is in a dilemma. And Prabhu's, you know what she does? Very, very uniquely, she manifests her forearms. And with her additional two arms, she puts her veil back on, and at the same time, she then serves the preparation to the Supreme Lord Nityananda. And when Lord Nityananda observes this beautiful exchange, this beautiful activity, he is so very, very pleased. And he turns to Surya Das Pandit and he mentions to him that in marrying your eldest daughter, Janava, I do not want any dowry. I do not wish to have any dowry. But instead, I would want in hand in marriage of the younger daughter Vasudama, for it was Vasudama who had served the Lord in that manner and manifested her forearms. And of course the Lord then marries Vasudama, and in due course it is Vasudama who gives the Lord a son by the name of Virachandra and a daughter by the name of Ganga Devi, and they are both become very, very prominent in the Gaudiya mission there to follow. So now, Prabhus, we are on the 6th verse of the Ashtakam, and the translation is, like Agastya Muni, who by drinking a handful of water made all the oceans dry up. He forcibly swallows the ocean of repeated birth and death. He arouse like a moon to swell up the ocean of mercy for the welfare of the jivas. He very easily destroys the sinful reactions of the most sinful degraded persons. He is very dear to the devotees. He is always busy doing good to the devotees. He is like the sun that dispels the darkness of the ignorant fools who which descended by their sinful activities. I do my bhajan of Lord Sri Nityananda, the very root of the Sri Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. When Gauranga Mahaprabhu was already in Jagannath Puri, we have now reached Jagannath Puri. When Lord Nityananda first appears in Jagannath Puri, he rushes to take darshan of Lord Jagannath. Via the Simba Dwara, he leaves his entire entourage, he's virtually alone, he's running. And the Lord, the Lord is so very tall, elongated arms, he is running like a mad elephant, because he's so very, very eager to take darshan of the Lord, so very eager. And he runs past the Simba Dwara, enters the Simba Dwara, runs past the Garuda Stamba, and he's about to just enter into the inner chambers and just dive onto the altar. Now, all the pandas, they're mystified. The people there, the devotees there, everyone is mesmerized. Who is this person who is literally running? So the pandas, and they all come, they come straight to him. But it's like the Lord has some kind of force field. As soon as they come anywhere near the Lord, the pandas just fly back. They just fly back. They can't get anywhere near the Lord. Everyone is in a state of utter shock. The Lord then comes right near the altar. And the altar is, the huge Shalagram Shila is there, on top of which Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra Maharani are rested upon. And Lord Nityananda leaps onto the altar and just comes straight in front of Lord Jagannath. And with already elongated arms, the Lord just hugs Jagannath. And he stretches his arms even more, and he goes right round Lord Jagannath, and if you can imagine, and he just does not let go. He's just not letting go. He's so immersed in hugging the Lord, he's literally in samadhi. And the pandas and the pujaris, they try to come near the Lord to release him, but as soon as they come anywhere near Lord Nityananda and Jagannath, they just fly back. It's like they're not allowed. So for quite some time, Lord Nityananda just does not release Lord Jagannath. And after a while, the Bhattacharya appears, and the Bhattacharya realizes that Lord Nityananda is there, and he mentions that Gauranga Mahaprabhu is at the house of the Bhattacharya. So soon as Lord Nityananda hears Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he comes to external consciousness and he's fully awake. He then releases his arms, he releases Lord Jagannath, he steps back off the altar. And one would have thought that, okay, he's got to go and meet Lord Chaitanya, but instead he's thinking to himself, I'm very hungry, I don't want any Jagannath Maha, I'm going to see Gadada Pandit. So he goes straight to talk to Gopinath, and he with him the Lord Nityananda has carried 20 kilos of rice, of the creme de la creme of rice, the grain, the most supreme, far more supreme than basmati tilde rice. He is carrying these 20 kilos of rice, and with him he carries some camphor, some kapur, some saffron, and some little spices, all from Bengal. And when he comes to talk to Gopinath, Lord Gadada is waiting for him, And when Lord Gadada sees that Lord Nityananda is about to appear, he comes outside and he welcomes the Lord, and Lord Nityananda just gives him this 20 kilo of rice, and he says to the Lord Gadada that I'm hungry, you go and cook this rice, the whole lot. 20 kilos of rice is a lot of rice. He says, cook this and cook some shak, some spinach sabji, that's shak, and offer everything to Gopinath, and then I will take. And while you're at it, make some little meat sweets, some sondesh, make some little meat sweets. And the shak, the spinach has to be baby leaves. Make sure it's baby leaves. So of course Gadada Pandit gets very busy when he opens the sack of rice and he feels the rice. He mentions to Lord Nityananda, where have you got this rice? It's like it's coming directly from Vaikuntha. Such beautiful rice. Of course, Lord Gadada is such a profound cook. Srimati Radharani herself, Gadada is such an amazing cook, and he goes to the tota. He goes to the garden, the tota, and he begins to pluck out the spinach. He knows that he requires a mountain of spinach. And this tota, this transcendental garden, such a spiritual place, that as he plucks out from the very same place, he plucks out one leaf of spinach, baby spinach, very tasty, another one immediately sprouts. So it's a miraculous garden, and all of a sudden he has a whole mountain of spinach. And he then takes that and he cooks it, and it's beautiful, shak, spinach sabji he makes together with the other preparations. He then offers everything to Gopinath. He then brings it to Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda very happily has his meal. After which Gauranga Mahaprabhu appears there, and he accuses Lord Nityananda, so you're here, it didn't occur to you that to invite me? And Lord Nityananda said, there is not enough prasad. I've eaten everything. It's not enough for you. So such are the pastimes of the Lord Nityananda when he appears in Jagannath Puri for pretty much the very first time. This beautiful pastime is being given in the Chaitamrita of how the Lord just hugs Lord Jagannath. We have now come to text number 7 of the Ashtakam. He is always dancing and chanting Hari Bol, uttering the name of Hari. He always engages in Harinam Sankirtan. He always wanders on the streets of every city, town and village, casting his merciful glance over his dear devotees. I do my bhajan of Lord Sri Nityananda, the very root of the Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. So Prabhu's a final pastime, a very sweet pastime, is of when the two lords, the supreme lords, Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, when they appear in Vrindavan. When in Vrindavan, Gauranga Mahaprabhu realizes that within Govardhan there is a personality who has been waiting for him for a very, very long time. And so Mahaprabhu instructs Lord Nityananda, please go to Govardhan now and bring this personality here. Lord Nityananda naturally questions, why you want me to go? Can you not go and bring him, whoever he is? But Mahaprabhu convinces Lord Nityananda that no, you please go and bring this person. He has been waiting in one of the caves of Govardhan for a long time. Now, some 4,586 odd years prior to Mahaprabhu appearing, one personality by the name of Sridham, one of the Gopas, one of the Shakas, the friends of Lord Krishna, is all alone. For Krishna and Balaram have left. The other Gopas have left. But Sridham is searching for the Lord. This particular pastime, Prabhus, is so very nicely been given to us in the Chaitanya Mangal. And Sridham searches everywhere for Krishna and Balaram. Eventually, he comes to Govardhan, thinking that Krishna has to be on top of Govardhan. He comes to Govardhan and he notices that no one is here. He notices Krishna is not there. So he's now tired. He's somewhat exhausted. He enters the cave of Govardhan. Enters the cave, and this cave, as soon as he enters, becomes like a majestic palace. And in the corner of this cave, of this chamber, there's the couch. Over there we have a nice bridal, I'm in the bridal suite incidentally. There's a nice bridal couch, very majestic. But this was truly a majestic couch. And so Sridham, he goes there and he's so very exhausted, seemingly. He then just thought to himself, let me just stay here and I'll wait for Krishna when he appears. He lies down on the couch, and Prabhu's 1 year passes, he's still there. A decade passes, he's still there. A century passes, and he's still there. A millennia passes, 1,000 years, he's still there. 4.5 millennia later, he is still there. Still there. By this time, Gauranga Mahaprabhu has appeared. He has appeared, and he is now in Vrindavan, and he is then instructed Lord Nityananda that you please go and see where this person is. He is in one of the caves of Govardhan. Nityananda appears there. He enters the cave. It virtually transformed into a majestic area. He sees that a very Herculean type of person is lying on the couch. He goes near to where Sridham is, and he then chants the name of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. That awake, and immediately after 4.5 millennia later, this personality awakes. And soon as he sees Lord Nityananda, soon as Sridham immediately says, Lord Balaram, it's you. So if you're here, then Krishna must be here. Please take me to Krishna, for I have been looking for him. And Nityananda says, well, I am Lord Nityananda, I am Nityananda, but I will take you to Krishna. So he then takes Sridham. And when Sridham takes darshan of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, it is a truly unique occasion. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is much shorter than Sridham, because in Dwapara Yuga everyone is much taller. And so Mahaprabhu, when he sees Sridham, they come near. Gauranga Mahaprabhu stands on the toes of Sridham. He then grabs his chin and tugs, and Sridham then shrinks into the appropriate height, as it were, and they then both embrace. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu then mentions to Sridham, you have now appeared in the age of Kali, and pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, you will now be known as Abhiram Thakur. So Abhiram Thakur in Gauranga Leela is Abhiram Thakur in Chaitanya Leela, but in Krishna Leela is none other than Sridham. So a truly beautiful pastime, very, very nicely given to us in the Chaitanya Mangal. And so, Prabhus, we have now come to virtually the final prayers of the Ashtakam. And the eighth prayer is, he moves with Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, holding his very soft lotus-like palm. The Lords, when they are in Kirtan, they hold the palms. And he always looks at the moon-like beautiful face of Sri Gaura Chandra and becomes ecstatic and blissful. And Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu also looks at the moon-like beautiful, beautiful face of Lord Nityananda, Sri Nitai. In this way, the two of them are completely filled with blissfulness. He always makes all the inhabitants of the towns and cities wherever he goes mad with the intoxication of his beauty. I do my bhajan of Lord Sri Nityananda, the very root of the Sri Krishna Bhakti Vriksha. And Vrindavan Das Thakur concludes by saying, whoever reads and recites with firm faith this Sri Nityananda Ashtakam will have the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu soon revealed to him. These 8 prayers are the essence of Bhakti Ras. They are the life and soul of all Rashika Bhaktas and the reservoir of all mellows. Lord Nityananda is the essence of the universe, the 3 planetary systems, and by his remembrance, the sinful reactions of all sinful persons are destroyed. Jai Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. And in conclusion, dear Prabhus, Lord Advaita gives his prayers in glorification of Lord Nityananda. And Lord Advaita concludes by saying, your name is Nityananda. And indeed, you are Nityananda, eternal bliss. You are the form of Sri Chaitanya's transcendental qualities. You deliver all living beings and protect religious principles at the time of annihilation. You descended to give Chaitanya Prema Bhakti. Indeed, you are the full potency of Lord Chaitanya. You teach supreme knowledge to devotees headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva and Narada. Everyone gets Vishnu Bhakti from you, yet you're untouched by pride. You deliver the fallen souls without seeing their faults. You are the only enjoyer of sacrifices. Simply remembering you destroy the bondage of ignorance at once. These Prabhus are the prayers by Lord Advaita Acharya in glorification of our Lord Nityananda. Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. Thank you very, very much, Prabhus, for listening. Kindly accept my obeisances. Vancha kalpa trubhascha kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananda Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Nityananda Balaram Ki Jai. Nityananda Triyodasi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all very, very much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Bala Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Bala Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Bala Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare এই নাম গায় গোরাচাঁদ মধুর সদে এই নাম গায় গোরাচাঁদ মধুর সদে হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে এই নাম গায়ে গোরাচাঁদ মধুর স্বরে এই নাম গায়ে গোরাচাঁদ মধুর স্বরে হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ হরে কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ হরে 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 রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে 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 রাম হরে রাম রাম হরে Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare